What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's my team selection for Game Week 10. So I'm going to show you how the team is shaping up, talk through the one free transfer I've already made and what I might do with the other two, plus future moves as well. And I'll quickly, unfortunately, have to show you how I did in Game Week 9 as well. So let's get into it. So let's start with Game Week 9, and it was pretty bad. I scored just 40 points, and that dropped me from 528k down to 779k, which is still not completely terrible, considering we're only just going into Game Week 10, but it's also not nice to get such a big red arrow. And going into the Everton-Spurs game, I was only on a small red, and then Van der Ven decided to score like 1 million points and absolutely killed me. So not a great game week. I was going into that final game between Spurs and Everton thinking, it's a good week to have a bad game week. I was going to roll out that cliche, but in the end, it was just a bit of a disaster. And basically, no one got me points once again. The only difference this week is Haaland also didn't get any points. So he blanked. Yorkresh is blanked for 5 game weeks in a row. Terrible. Dewsbury Hall doesn't like to shoot. 2 points. Paquetá, 1 point. I mean, I should just be, I don't know, grateful that he didn't get himself sent off, because when he got that yellow card, he carried on having to go at the ref. He could have easily got a second yellow. So I guess I got to be grateful for the 1 pointer. Semenyo, 3 points. Fernandez, okay, he outscored Haaland and Saka, etc. But it was only 4 points with Defcons. And a Reinders 1 pointer because he's just an awful pick as well. The only players that actually got me anything were Raya, 6 points, Gabriel, 9 points, because Arsenal defence is just so reliable. And Senesi also got a 5 pointer. Van Dijk, as he often does, got Defcons but no clean sheet. So only 3 points. So just a bit of a disaster. The only ever so slight silver lining, if I could just try and be positive, outside of Van der Ven, this would not have been a terrible week. And given the fact that I played Reinders, Paquetá and Dewsbury Hall, maybe it's okay. I knew that Game Week 9 and maybe even Game Week 10 might be a bit rough. I've started building up transfers. At some point, I'm going to use them all and kind of overhaul my team a little bit. I'm just waiting for the right time to do it. So I kind of knew going into Game Week 9 that maybe things weren't amazing with that midfield. And it might be the same case in Game Week 10. I'll talk about it in a minute. So apart from Van der Ven, it might have been okay. So just because I've dropped down quite a bit doesn't mean I can't climb up the ranks just as quickly. So I'm still holding out a lot of hype. And obviously there's a lot of game weeks to go. I actually feel quite good about where I'm at FPL right now in general. Like, things are not perfect, far from it. But it's not a complete disaster either. So not a great game week. I've dropped down to just inside the top 800k. I'm okay with it. Let's talk about Game Week 10. So I've already used 1 free transfer this week. I've got 2 left, but I've only got 0.1 million in the bank. So there's not a huge amount of money to spend. That being said, defensively for Game Week 10, things look pretty good. So I've got Raya and Gabriel double up on Arsenal defence. I'm going to play them pretty much every single week that I own them for. And obviously it helps this week that it's Burnley away, so that's straightforward. Lequara has been in my team since I wildcarded in Game Week 4. And obviously Game Week 10 is a specific week where people are looking to jump on Palace players. So it's nice to already have one in place. Do I wish Lequara was Munoz? Of course. But I'm kind of okay with having Lequara. It's very unlikely I'm going to be in a position where I've got so many transfers I can make the sideways move. And it's not like Lequara is terrible. He's got attacking threat from set pieces. He's good for defensive contributions. And he's going to play every game. And obviously Palace defence is pretty decent. So I'm actually kind of okay with him. And at some point, I'm confident-ish that he might finally get me a goal. That's what I'm waiting for, basically. Lequara, go and get me a clean sheet goal and Defcons in one match. Because it feels like the 4 million defenders can do it. So why can't you? So I quite like Lequara, even though I'd prefer Munoz. And then Van Dijk, who has been awful. Liverpool lost another game last night. To be fair, they did have a lot of young players in that squad. But it's another loss. So I am worried about Van Dijk. I did say last week that I've basically decided to keep him the whole way through because Liverpool's fixtures are great from Game Week 12. That's probably still the case. The real test will be next week because it's Man City away. He'll probably be on my bench. If I'm ever going to free up the cash, it's Game Week 11. But I don't see me doing it. I just don't, because I think Liverpool's fixtures from 12 to like 19 are so good. I'm going to want a little bit of that if I can. And I've already got Van Dijk in my squad. So unless I absolutely need the money, I'm probably not going to sell him. I'm not completely ruling it out next week, but I'm not going to do it this week. There's not a move that I'm completely sure I want to do that warrants selling him. So he'll probably come away from Villa with no clean sheet, no goal, and probably DEFCONs, and that's about it. But I don't know. I'm kind of at the point where I just know I'm stuck with him. I don't really want him, but I don't really want to sell him either. So I'm just stuck. And look, the money could be useful. Van Dijk to a 4 million defender gives me 2 million to upgrade one of my midfielders. But I just think there's a better way to do it in the next couple of weeks rather than selling Van Dijk this week. So I'm going to stick with him. And ultimately, that defence looks pretty good in theory, on paper. Double Arsenal versus Burnley, Lacroix home to Brentford, and Van Dijk home to Villa. Like, it's not terrible, is it? I don't think. You know, there's people out there with better defences, I'm sure, but it's okay. On the bench, Senesi, Man City away, not going to play him. I'm okay with keeping him for now. I think with my strategy, I'll probably move to free hit 17 based on what I talked about in the blank and double game week video. Therefore, Senesi's pretty good from 12 to 14. So I'll just keep him for that. And then if I want to sell him in game week 15, I can, because I can just free hit him back in for Burnley at home in game week 17. And then Joachim Andersen, we don't know if he's back for game week 10. If he is, I'll play him against Wolves at home and I'll bench one of my midfielders instead. But right now, I'm just going to bench him this week, probably bench him in 11 and hope he's back for Sunderland at home in game week 12. So every week I look at my midfield and I think to myself, how did I put myself in a position where I've got to play two of Reinders, Paquetá or Dewsbury Hall every week? It's just not an ideal situation. In my defence, when I made the decision a few weeks ago to put Gabriel in for Goodmanson rather than Van Dijk and basically have a lot of money in defence, I was planning to play four at the back a bit more often. Like, if Joachim Andersen was fit this week against Wolves at home, I would definitely play 4-3-3. And then all of a sudden, it's only one of Reinders, Paquetá or Dewsbury Hall. But because of injuries, I've had to adapt and I've not got much money in the bank to play around with. So basically, the plan is to lump it this week, accept that the team is not ideal, and do something about it in game week 11 when I can free up some money. So with 0.1 million in the bank, I could do Paquetá to Minte, who's got Leeds at home this week, but I think I prefer to roll and try and get as much information as possible ahead of game week 11 about potential blanks and doubles. And the reason that I'm a little bit more okay with doing that is because Paquetá's at least going to start, he's at least on penalties, and he at least has Burnley at home in game week 11, whereas Minte's got Palace away. So although I absolutely think that Minte is better this week and next week than Paquetá, it's not in a massive way. And the fact that Paquetá's got Burnley at home is I don't feel like I need to rush in to make that transfer. So that is in the back of my mind. Do I use one more transfer on Paquetá to Minte? But I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I want to go into 11 with 3 free transfers. And if I've got to play Paquetá next week against Burnley, it's not the end of the world. And from 12 onwards, the plan is to never play him or to sell him. So he's not going to be an issue in my team for much longer. Reinders is also in the 11 over Dewsbury Hall. I mean, in pre-season, I probably would have told you I'm definitely going to play Dewsbury Hall against Sunderland away, but obviously they've done pretty well, and Man City are at home, and Reinders got benched last night in the Carabao Cup, so I'm hoping that was a rest, because he's definitely going to play at the weekend. The problem is he might be playing a much more defensively, like a much more defensive position, basically, in that midfield, which is not ideal. And Dewsbury Hall obviously plays at the number 10. I don't think that's really a threat right now. But I think just because it's at home, I'm going to play Reinders and just hope that Pep plays someone like Nico Gonzalez and lets Reinders go forward a bit more. So I'm not happy with Paquetá and Reinders whatsoever. But I think having looked at future moves and considering potential blanks and doubles, etc., it makes more sense to not use a transfer right now. Fernandes I'm more than happy with. I think the fixtures are good. He's just a good pick. Simple as that. So he's going nowhere anytime soon. If anything, I'm more likely to add a second Man United midfielder rather than take one out. And then Semenyo, I have considered selling because I could do something like Semenyo to Sarr and then Reinders to Njai or something like that. In fact, I think if I look at my team, I think I can afford something. Let me just double check exactly what I can afford here. So to Semenyo to Sarr, yeah, Reinders to a 6.9 million midfielder. So someone like Njai, I could do that. But again, I'm using 2 free transfers and I'm still having to play Paquetá. Is Sarr and Njai like miles better than Reinders and Semenyo? I mean, arguably it is, to be fair. But I know I'm going to want Semenyo back from game week 12. I just think he's a good pick, 12 to 14, and I've already got him. It's a bit like the Van Dijk thing. I've already got Semenyo in my team. I've already got a lot of value tied up in him. You know, if Kluivert goes and gets an injury, all of a sudden Semenyo's like full-time penalty taker. So I don't know. I look at my team and think it's not great, especially in midfield. But I'm still hesitating to make any moves because I think it's just better in game week 11. And also, Semenyo against Villa away in game week 11, I really don't hate playing that anyway. And by the way, Bournemouth will get chances against this Man City defence. Like, they're a good team. If they're going to get chances, at some point they may well fall to Semenyo. So I see other people selling him, and I think in some cases it makes sense. But I'm not sure it does for me. So I'm going to keep hold of him. So yeah, I'm going to run a Reinders, Fernandes, Semenyo, Paquetá midfield, which is probably one of the worst midfields you'll see out there. But yeah, who knows? Hopefully, Man United, West Ham get a penalty. Semenyo just smashes Man City. And maybe Reinders gets a consolation goal. It's probably not going to happen. It'll probably just be 3 blanks because we know Fernandes is great, right? Yeah, I'm just going to roll with it. So my forward line looks a little bit better at least. The one transfer that I've already made is Evan Nilsson to Mateta, which I did on Sunday evening. I'm not usually one for making early transfers, but in this case, I 100% knew that I was selling Evan Nilsson this week, and I 100% knew that Mateta was the forward that I wanted to get. The only way that move would become bad is if Mateta picked up an injury. So I took the risk, and sometimes you'll take those risks of early transfers and they'll backfire. Sometimes you'll get lucky. In this case, I've got lucky. Mateta didn't start against Liverpool last night. He did come on at half-time. I was expecting him to get a bit more of a break, but apparently the reason he came on at half-time is because Nketiah has picked up a hamstring problem. So as far as we know, Mateta came through that game with no issues, and now his main competition for the number 9 spot is injured. So his minutes should continue to be good. And I easily think, or I think that Mateta is easily top 2, top 3 forward to own right now. And there's transfers that I've not made in the last week or two, specifically so I haven't priced myself out of getting Mateta. So that was an obvious move for me. Haaland captain, fairly straightforward against Bournemouth at home. Very unlikely that I change my mind on that and go for Gyökeres or Fernandes. It's going to be Haaland, and there's no plans to sell him either. I think the idea of switching Haaland to Salah is almost completely out the window now. There was a thought a few weeks ago, sell Haaland to Salah for the Liverpool fixtures, free hit Haaland back in, and then eventually buy him back. But I've got team value tied up in him now. Salah's not doing that great. And with the potential for blanks and doubles, there's just other things to worry about. So Haaland will stay. I don't see me buying Salah anytime soon. He's going to be a huge differential, by the way, 12 and 14 in particular, but I'm probably not going to go there. And then Gyökeres Burnley away. The king of the 2-pointers. He has been awful since I wildcarded him in, but I'm going to give him the Burnley game. He was rested last night for Arsenal's Carabao Cup game. He's definitely going to start. It's a good fixture on paper. I know that Burnley can defend pretty well and deep, etc., make it difficult, but I'm not worried about it. I think it's fine for Gyökeres, and I'm hoping he can just get me something. I'll even take a 6-pointer right now. Just give me something. He's staying. I could use my 2 free transfers to switch Gyökeres to Saka, but I don't think it's enough of an upgrade. I think Saka is the better pick between the two, and it's so, it's almost odds on that eventually I make that move. But if I do it this week, essentially it'd be Gyökeres and Reinders to Guiu and Saka, and then I'd bench Guiu because I wouldn't be 100% certain he'd start against Spurs, and I'd play Dewsbury Hall. So right now I've got Reinders Bournemouth at home, Gyökeres Burnley away. If I use 2 free transfers, I'll be playing Saka and Dewsbury Hall instead. It's not enough of an upgrade, in my opinion, to warrant using the 2 moves. I would much rather go into game week 11 with 3 free transfers and then decide what to do. And by the way, next week, I may not make that move again. I might wait until after the international break. Because my team will look okay next week, apart from not owning Saka. But who knows? Maybe Saka goes and plays for England and gets injured, and all of a sudden I want to keep Gyökeres long term. So I'm going to go into game week 11 almost certainly, unless we get any injury news tomorrow, with 3 free transfers. And then I'll either make the Gyökeres Saka switch, or if we know there's going to be no blanks and doubles, I might just do Gyökeres out and not get Saka and upgrade Dewsbury Hall and Reinders to like Mbeumo and Sarr and just go with a bit more money spread around. Or I might just roll again. Because actually, if I'm okay with Paquetá against Burnley at home, which I will be because on paper it's a good fixture, I'm only going to have one player that I'm not particularly happy with next week. And that'll be Dewsbury Hall against Fulham at home. The rest of the squad will look okay. Haaland's always okay. Gyökeres will have Sunderland away. Mateta's fine. Fernandes and Semenyo will be fine next week as well, and the defence is good. So there's options next week, and I quite like having those options open. Like, I'm not afraid of spending my transfers, but it needs to be a big upgrade. And honestly, the only player I feel like everyone else has got that I don't is Saka. He's the only one and Burmo's great if you got him. Sarr is also great, and I am worried about Sarr, to be honest. I mean, Noz is good too, right? Timber's good, but my team is not in such a bad way that I need to like have sleepless nights about those players. So I'm kind of okay. One transfer used. I'm probably going to roll the other two. And then 11, it could go different ways depending on the information we get. Thanks very much for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button. And I'll be back for final thoughts on Friday afternoon.